Good afternoon, everybody. So I want to read to you, we've got an extract here from the Mead report. And when I read this last year, it filled me with a lot of excitement. And this is just giving you the vast amount of giga-projects that are coming across the kingdom. So as from October 22, 15 developments were officially categorized as giga-projects. Now that is, in one area, 15 giga-projects. That's never been heard of anywhere else in the world. The giga-projects span across Saudi Arabia, and the speakers that we have on the stage today are involved in many of these giga-projects. We've got urban zero-carbon smart cities. We've got natural heritage sites, luxury sea and mountain resorts, and entertainment districts. Now, just not a little quiz for you, but in 2018-2022, there was 28 billion worth of contracts let into the market. That in 2023, there was just over 26. Now, the prediction from 2023 to 2025, so remember 28, 26, is now predicted to be 569 billion contracts let up into 2025. So you can imagine the sheer scale of the ramp-up of these projects. So with that introduction, I'd like to invite the panel to the stage. Richard, Executive Procurement Director from Seven. Tarek Amine, Global Chief Supply Chain Officer from Bechtel. Ayman, Procurement Vice President, Alula. Francois, Senior Procurement Director for Red Sea. And Iain, Head of Commercial for ROSHN. And Anis, Expo Dubai 2020, which is now Expo City Dubai.
No chair.
And somebody took my chair. It's okay, sit down, sit down. I did say that I wanted to walk around anyway, but it's okay. So we're going to start with, I think we're going to start with Francois. Francois, Red Sea. Luxury. So, I mean, it's a huge project. How many years has it been going now?
Sorry, I don't hear you.
We can hear you?
No, not well. Okay, can you repeat the question, please?
Oh, sorry. Red Sea. When did the Red Sea project start?
I think a couple of years ago, before 2018.
Oh, excellent. I've got a seat.
Yes.
So, Francois, can you explain to us? I mean, it's a huge project. It's luxury. Your experience on procuring that giga-project, I mean, it's vast.
Okay, the Red Sea project, it's like we have all the same issue in terms of procurement. It's basically the supply chain, and to be in a position to meet the demand and to find the right partner to deliver the project. I will not repeat what has been said already. Okay, very important communication, engagement with the supply chain. You know, to work with the local supplier and subcontractor in a very respectful manner, and to bring them with us, because our success depends on their success. Okay, and I would say my background as main contractor, mainly in UAE. Okay, we need to bring a more balanced relationship, because we need the supply chain to succeed. Then yes, people, very important, technology. We talk about communication, but my aim, okay, is to really put the risk allocation into the central part. Managing the risk is by allocating the risk at the right place and not, as it has been done in the past, I would say, pass the risk to the next. Okay, then it's really, we are as a developer, and I will emphasize on the way we are developing to manage this risk and to make sure that we don't assign the risk to the wrong party, which always risk mean money and doesn't achieve our purpose to buy a great value product.
No, that's excellent. And how far, I mean, what stage are you now at the Red Sea? Percentage complete.
Okay, we have two major developments ongoing at the moment. It's the first who started a couple of years ago. It's the Red Sea project, which is an island-style resort, and we have Amala project, which is more a beachside project. We have been lucky, and we just opened the first hotel on the Red Sea, which you can book a night already on it, and we are planning to open two new hotels by end of the year.
No, that's great. Thank you very much. Tarek, global supply chain for Bechtel. Now, Bechtel's got quite a few projects, most certainly across the region. How are Bechtel managing from a strategy point of view? Can you share your strategy with us?
Yeah, thanks, Lorraine. First of all, I do want to say it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for CIPS for organizing. It's not always you get the chance to speak in a room full of esteemed colleagues that are professionals and are a strong advocate to what we do. And I love what I heard earlier this morning about just how do we make success procurement. I mean, Bechtel has been, this is our 125th year. We're celebrating it this year, and actually 80 of those are here in the kingdom. And the Giga-projects has been one of the trademarks of Bechtel throughout the history, different parts of the world. So developing, mega project supply chain strategies has always been a key focus for us. And really it starts by just really understanding and learning the market and having in-depth understanding. I think one of the previous panelists was focusing on the intelligence and learning, and so that's something is really a prerequisite to any strategy that you're trying to do and try to develop. Now, of course, when we are in a dynamic environment like we've been for the last 3 years or 4 years between COVID and regional conflicts and inflation and every type of disruption that was available, it takes a little bit more depth and a little bit more understanding and detail and knowledge that you have to do. So really, we kind of sort of summarize it in 3 words, really engage, learn, and develop. So we try to actually engage with the local communities and the local supply chain and regional. We try to, listen to them and see how do we do business, how do we actually engage, what are the keys for success, and what are the areas of risk. And then we just work on really developing, and I like the comments from the previous panelists about just, learning and also sharing how to do business internationally and how to engage with large companies and how to actually become more competitive in the global market and focusing on. So one of the base strategies that we have is we try to diversify after we learn what the local supply chain can provide, its capacity, its capability, its actually threshold and bandwidth for development. We try to actually kind of expand our risk. We do have over hundreds of projects going at the same time around the world, so we get the privilege and of knowing and being engaged with supply chain and on day-to-day basis around the world. So we try to leverage our knowledge from different regions. We try to understand the supplier capabilities and especially the risks that they're going through. I think the biggest risk for now in developing your strategy is not your tier 1 suppliers, but it's really the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, all the people that depend on it. So your strategy development has to go a lot deeper now than it used to be in the past. So we focus on a lot of these detailed things, and we try to learn and engage, and we can talk a lot about it, but I'll stop here.
I mean, it takes me nicely really into Richard's question, because Richard, 7, awesome projects right across the region. I know when I go to work, I can see them popping up everywhere, and they really are, going up fast. And with 7, you've gone into so many different regions. So how are you dealing with the local content and upskilling your suppliers?
So it's a. Can you hear me okay?
No.
Okay. That's it. Perfect. I think we can hear. Everybody hear me? Okay. So local content is obviously very important to us as Saudi Entertainment Ventures 7. We're constructing 21 different entertainment destinations, and as you rightly said, Lorraine, they're spread across 14 different cities. And so that localization is very, very important to us. Now, in the last few years, we've been supported and had seen some great initiatives coming through, like the Local Content Initiative, supported by things like the PIF Supplier Development Program, which is really boosting the local content and support that's available for SMEs and all businesses. Specifically to us, because we're developing in so many different cities, developing and growing that local business economy is very important to us, and it's a critical part of how we're working with the local amanas, local authorities, to really develop our entertainment destinations. And it's the right thing to do. If you're developing or building in a region or a city, of course you're keen to develop local business to that region or city. And so we're very keen to really grow sustainable business legacies with businesses. From our side as well, look, we are building assets that, as well as constructing them, we're also going to be operating them for the next 10, 15, 20 years. And so if you think about it, having a relationship, and Tarek was mentioning it, having a relationship with a supplier that only lasts you for the 12-month warranty period or for the defects liability period, that's not going to fly. We need to develop sustainable business relationships with vendors that will carry us through for that 10, 15, 20-year period. And quite often, the source for that is obviously within the country, within the region, and we're seeing some really excellent vendors coming through to really support us in some of those cities.
No, that's great. And your project is very unique to all the other panels here, because it goes into different regions right across Saudi Arabia. What about supply chain development? Excellent. What about the local people? I'm assuming that you recruit from those areas?
100%. So when I first joined the business, I think I was employee number 47 or something like that. We're now up to 600. Wow. But again, depending on the business model we operate, when we're fully operational across all of those 21 different locations, we'll have somewhere between 7,000 and 10,000 employees. And of course, in order to source those 7,000 or 10,000 employees, you need to bring them from the regions. But you also need to train them. You need to make sure that the levels of service is up to a standard that we would accept. And we are happy to deliver that product within the region. So absolutely sourcing regionally, not just for the supply chain, but also the people who will support us and help to run and operate those venues. Of course, the first place to look is in the region.
No, that's great. Thank you. I mean, it is a very, very unique with the span, and I imagine that's such a challenge, certainly with your local content and your local hire. Iain.
Yes.
With the scale of what's happening in the region, somebody that's not, or companies that are not used to operating at this level, what advice could you give?
So first of all, thanks for having us and giving us the opportunity to speak today. So just in contrast to what Tarek said earlier, ROSHN are not 125 years old. We're 3 years old. We've recently celebrated our 3rd anniversary, which was a big achievement, and it's brought to us the opportunity to, when we were starting out, trying to redefine how we think about procurement and how we do procurement. So a couple of pieces of advice that that I would give, and I'm sure my team would echo. The first thing is we don't want to think of ourselves as buyers. So a lot of people in procurement think of themselves as a buyer. What we're actually doing as a giga-project is we're selling a demand to the market. And once you change your mindset into I'm selling something, it comes on to my second piece of advice. How do we make ourselves a client of choice? So how do we make it so as the limited supply chain that is around, how do we make them want to work with us? And we've had various successes there. So some examples include our supplier development program, which requires us to reach out to the supply chain. We can't all go to the top tier 1 contractors, so we've identified a level below tier 1, tier 2 contractors that are on the cusp of breaking through to tier 1. How do we work with them, grow them, and turn them into the tier 1 contractors of the future? And that's based on trust. So we signpost our demand, our pipeline, and what it allows us to do is gain far more time in the procurement process to understand what our supply chain need to deliver successfully for us, whether that's price, quality, time, balancing their demand, balancing how quickly they can scale up and grow. So to break it down, because there's 3 sort of key successes we've had. Number 1 was reaching out to our material suppliers and standardizing as much as possible our product. So that allows us to undertake master purchase agreements, get the key suppliers on board with our specifications, take any feedback from the suppliers to what we can do better. I mean, they're the experts. So we've done that. We signed MPAs. It then allowed us to reach out to main contractors, understand from them what allows them to deliver more efficiently. So again, we've standardized our base homes, our kitchens are standardized, our bathrooms are standardized. So it becomes like a big Lego set, putting it all together. And we've essentially, through leveraging our relationships and demand in the supply chain, we've been able to de-risk the main contractor, so he's not having to think about material prices. ROSHN will tell you the material to buy, we'll do the deal with the supplier, and let the contractor focus on his site logistics, getting his labor, and finishing the product to the correct quality of workmanship.
No,
so it's through bringing the entire supply chain on board as early as possible, trusting them with our mandate. They trust us that we're going to follow through on these commitments. And when I really reflect back on the last 3 years, I think we've got some incredible products that have been procured at incredible prices and have been delivered quickly into a high quality. And I think that's testament to the fact that we're not actually trading in reals or money. We're trading in trust with our supply chain and our partners. And I think that's another one of the mindset changes that we need, especially here in Saudi, with such a demand and such challenges in the supply chain as we go forward.
I want you to hold that
Okay.
thought, because at the very end, I'm going to throw a question out for the panel to answer. So hold that on the demand, okay?
No problem.
Ayman, Alula, what can I say? So the question for you, this is a question that I personally want to ask, is tell us something exciting. Well, there's so much exciting about Alula, but there must be so much history there, what you've uncovered and what you've achieved today. And we all know the story of Alula, but can you just expand on...
Yeah, sure. First of all, assalamu alaikum jami'an. I'm honored to be along with this group on this panel and to have these amazing questions to give me the opportunity to talk about an interesting story. So Al-Ula is not only a destination, it's not only a county, it's a story and it's a journey. So the moment you think about Al-Ula from all aspects, in reference to the projects, the strategies, how people perceive it, what we contributed as part of Vision 2030, is something unique and distinguished. And this is helping us in some certain scenarios in collaborating with partners in going in a long-term journey. Definitely, we were successful in multiple aspects, and we were lucky to be responsible about developing and thriving this gem, which is Al-Ula. Moreover, as well, as you know, maybe we were one of the first projects who started to open its doors, even though it wasn't planned, but we started to receive guests in 2018
Wow.
when we started Winter at Tantura. And for that, I think we started to experiment how we do projects differently. So basically, we were not looking into following standards, we were creating new standards. And I think now the country is becoming famous in reference to delivering projects in a very astonishing time frames. We can see it across all the projects, how we do and become experts in accelerated projects and delivering a high standards in the way we deliver our projects. Of course, that was a key success milestones, and it happens only because of one reason. On an organization level and also on functional levels. So for me as procurement and supply chain, I assume that all the success we had because we were successful to have the right talents, the right team, who is branded as, the golden team, because they are believing in what they deliver, they are innovative in the way they think, they look into defining and designing a new way of doing things, not only to follow what used to happen. And I think all of us, considering that it's mentioned in the earlier panel that 2030 is 6 years ahead.
Yes.
So I think we need to think differently, have the right capabilities who can help us and support us to think innovatively in order to achieve what we are supposed to achieve.
That's amazing, absolutely. And wherever you go in the world, the big talk is the giga-projects in Saudi Arabia.
Indeed.
Absolutely. Ines, so yours is very unique because you have a giga-project that's finished.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, but it was right also in the middle of the pandemic, if I remember rightly?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
How did you deal with that?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to this great panel. When I joined Expo 2020, I thought that I've seen it all within my 30 years of experience. And I worked into different continents, North America, Europe, Africa, now in Asia, and in Fortune 500 companies as well as startups. But when you join Expo, you get overwhelmed because not only it is the first Giga project, in the region before the FIFA and, a lot of the other, basically, big events, and this was the biggest in the MENA and Southeast Asia, where we had 192 countries, basically attending, and over 24 million, basically, visitation going on. And it is a political event in the same time. So the pressure for you as CPO to make this, success, it's great. It's a lot. And I'm coming from a telecom background, so all of a sudden, basically, rather than just technology, which tends to be very fast, moving, you are managing construction, you are managing F&B, you are managing, events, music, et cetera, et cetera. And you have to see it, you have to do it all. So you're running right, left, and center. All what you have learned for the last 30 years or whatever, in procurement, is all thrown out of the window. There is no more ABC of procurement. It's every day, every hour is something new. It's a new challenge. It's Messi who needs his chopper. It's his Her Excellency that needs, special suites. It's, the construction, there's something going on. So you are almost, always, challenged. And you keep thinking, okay, what's next, what's next, what's next? And that's the thing. It keeps you, basically on the run, all the day. It's a great challenge. Don't get me wrong. It's really amazing. So having, gone through all of this, and then you see, okay, now what's on the menu, what's going on, this is what we need to do, music rights, all the big, names of the music. I'm telling you, some of the artists are very challenging. We can take, any big construction, vendor or, telecom vendor any day compared to having to deal with the big music artists, because they can be quite greedy. So having seen all of this, then, we were getting closer to the opening, and February 2020, we see, some of the challenges happening, around the world. Some of the things coming from China, supply chains getting disrupted, some of slowdowns. So we say, okay, fine, I'm going to change my supply chain, not coming from China. I'm going to send it from this port, that port. Then you see, the shipyards, things are getting, close. I'm going to do, airlifting, sending it through airplane. This is not happening anymore. And the pressure from the business is constant. Make it happen. Make it happen. You cannot fail. We need to open on October 20th, 2020. This is the first time it happened. It's your head on the table. You got to make it happen. And then, start distorting. So you do strategic, basically you have a, war room, and it's red. Every day it's getting worse and worse and worse, And we were at the chief's levels, trying to see, how can you divert change for suppliers, etc. All of what you have learned, through your supply chain, basically books of, changing, alternative suppliers, etc., just was not working out anymore. And before it was the goods, now the people, we cannot get people moving out, from the States or from Europe, wherever, So you say, okay, I'm going to get, these technicians coming from South America or from wherever. Even though that, after a certain period of time, it just did not work. So when the pandemic was, declared, basically by the WHO as a full global pandemic, we had to stop. And, we waited until, the organizing body, the Bureau International des Expositions in Paris, decided, okay, this is it. We cannot do it anymore, so we stopped. What has happened is, within that period of time, most of the construction was done, and then we had all this non-construction tactical stuff, basically, that was going on. So we had to stop everything. All the contractors, the service technicians that were coming, all of this was put on hold.
Was there, sorry, I'll just interrupt that. Was there a massive delay? I mean, what was the end impact from the delay? Did you launch on time?
We did. So what we had to do is basically, after there was a decision, we had to delay, the event by 1 year to October 21. And for me, from supply chain, first of all, you have to either terminate or put on hold some of your contracts. So imagine all the efforts that we did for the last few years had to be, put a pause on. And then go back, renegotiate some of the terms, renegotiate maybe some new contracts again. Everything has to be done again. So within the last 9 months prior to opening again, we had to redo the whole transaction. 40% of our spend was happening during that period of time, where we had to reopen, renegotiate, because everybody was squeezing. The Ministry of Finance said, I'm not going to give you the money anymore. It's a pandemic going on. Do you need it? Go back, renegotiate. So imagine the pressure, go back again, renegotiate everything from scratch. And
I think I could put that question also to Tarek, because everybody here in Riyadh, we see the metro. We see the metro going, and when I got off the plane yesterday and I saw the metro working, it was incredible. And just to see that going, and I know Bechtel had the same challenges, Tarek, and I think, are you near to completion of the lines? That wasn't the question. I'm sure a lot of people want to ask that. Tarek, how are we going with those lines?
Yeah. No, I think the challenges that I want to echo is not really localized or regionalized. Of course, when you have a lot of mega projects happening at the same time, it gets accentuated by magnitude. But we've seen the same challenges all across the world. I think what has been traditionally for the last 30 or 40 years a reliable, predictable supply chain, which is based on economic value. We've seen a lot of disruptions where really it could be based on politics, could be based on sanctions and taxes, and all of the different disruptors for it become very unreliable. And it was across the board, right? Across the different countries. And that's why important to, as you're setting up your strategy for these mega projects, to really understand that we truly are living into a transformational phase within supply chain itself. I think we heard our earlier speaker talk about the old paradigm and a new paradigm where it's less transactional and more about strategic thinking and more about solving problems, which really, I like that expression. And you have to be more innovative, you have to be more collaborative. I think we heard that theme earlier today, and truly to understand the risks and make decisions. And I think the biggest change has been that you no longer can pass a risk to somebody else. Really, you really need to understand it, and you make a quick decision on how to best mitigate it, whether you're on the buy side or sell side, or you're a client or a contractor or or a supplier. And that's the whole thing. We're all trying to get used to this new norm. One thing for certain, that supply chain is going to get stabilized after a while. How? I don't know. It becomes a new norm. But the agility of building supply chain is truly about collaboration. We heard that word today. And I want to stretch a little bit further from just staying at collaboration to really go towards partnership. And really that partnership toward focusing on the value of that relationship bring, not on just the buy and sell transaction.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to Iain's, what we were saying earlier. So I'm going to throw this question out, because it must be on the lips of most of the people here. There's enormous amounts of work in the industry right across Saudi Arabia. Do we actually see there being, and we're all at the similar stage, apart from Giga-projects that's finished, lucky, but do we see issues with the supply chain over the next coming couple of years?
So yeah, I mean, there is certainly a huge amount of demand, and for those of us that have been in country for some time, we're always surprised with new giga projects that are coming along, with the World Cup being the latest, which is another challenge. So I think, and collectively, and I know at PIF's level and through the various sister PIF companies, we're all 100% focused on local content and building a local supply chain. And that's twofold. So it's, like I said earlier, improving the supply chain that we have at the moment in terms of quality, capacity, and resilience, but also how do we localize foreign manufacturers. So I think the waste would be, for all of us in this room, the waste would be if we just deal with foreign or international suppliers and partners on a transactional basis. We buy, we have delivery, they leave. So there's a big initiative. I'm actually off to Asia right after this to meet with contractors and across that part of the world to see how we can partner with them to come, set up, localize in Saudi Arabia, and make sure there's a knowledge transfer, skills transfer, part of the assembly or manufacture is done here, and ultimately some investment into the country from outside. So with all the initiatives that we're all doing and in collaboration with PIF, and it's at the front of our minds, and it's our biggest challenge that we're trying to solve.
Okay, excellent. Have we got time for Q&A? Quickly, we've got a few questions. Okay, the first one, the relation between procurement and investment opportunities. So, Richard.
Okay.
You're smiling. You were smiling.
I was going to say that's my fault.
That was a mistake.
So, yeah, relationship between procurement and investment opportunities. As Iain was saying quite rightly, there is a huge opportunity to increase capacity and capability within the kingdom, but there's an even bigger opportunity to bring investment into the kingdom to help develop homegrown capacity and homegrown businesses. The example I'll also give to back up Ian's point is on our theming side. So if you walk into a theme park or a water park, the rock work, the trees that you see, they're not real, they're plastic, sorry. Now, if I look at the capacity that Seven's business will do in the next couple of years within the kingdom, obviously, that outstrips the regional, not the kingdom, but the regional supply chain capacity by 3.5 times. So one of our things that we had to do was bring in companies, attract companies into the kingdom, bring in investment into the kingdom to set up their own theming manufacturing plants. Touch wood, I'm very pleased to say that we've got 6 companies now who have manufacturing capacity or brought manufacturing capabilities and factories into the kingdom. But it's beyond that as well. So the investment opportunity isn't just in the regular supply chain, but it's also bringing in investment opportunity across other areas. So again, I'm thinking about IPs, I'm thinking about bringing brands into the country. We're very fortunate to have brought in Hasbro, again, Transformers, Nerf, Hot Wheels. You know, there are huge brands across the world who are very, very interested in what the kingdom is doing at the moment. Actually, the case for investing into the kingdom isn't a difficult one to sell. It's providing the opportunity and providing the route to come into the country that is where they seek support. Again, humbly, we're very pleased to be able to support companies who wish to set up. manufacturing facilities who wish to set up their own brands within the kingdom.
Excellent. All these three questions are very, very similar, so somebody's very, very focused on this question. The next one is, it's very similar to what you said actually. Is the scale of procurement, can that influence the investment decisions? Ayman, I think that would be a good one for you.
Yeah, I think in general, we can see that there is correlations between investments, opportunities, and procurement. And as mentioned, due to the current supply chain risks, we can see that investments opportunities become one of the mitigations where we involve the private sectors to look into long-term private investments. But definitely, we can see a lot of influence because currently, majority of the demands is channeled through procurement.
Yeah.
And in procurement, in some of these occasions, they look into the pros and cons of each and every element, and some of the recommendations is to consider the investments opportunity roads, where it will influence how is that going to be structured and in collaborations with the relevant stakeholders, definitely.
Excellent, excellent. Is there any, and sorry about that, you've got lots more questions than I planned. Any more questions from the audience? Come on down. You're not going to get us off this stage today. No? It's okay.
Excuse me, this is Talal Al-Balushi from Sultanate Oman. So my question here, I was hearing that in-country value, and in the other hand, the suppliers and the service providers within the local market or international market. The sourcing itself. So how do you are monitoring and making sure that your suppliers were being sourced out, or your bidders which you're going to select for certain services and products? So are you guys having and monitoring the historical records, or how are you, do you having any platform where as an hub which all suppliers and service provider are available, where you're going to easily as a supplier, procurement and supply chain custodians are, it's a keen for you to find the proper and measured based on the KPIs of the existing or historical services of those suppliers or providers.
Now, whoever wants to answer that question, that's the big one. I'm looking at you, but I'm not saying to you.
I mean, I can answer that. Can you hear me?
No.
Okay. I mean, to the question about how do we monitor supplier and how do we actually follow up on the KPIs to them, a relationship with a supplier, like I said earlier, is really a long-term relationship, and we try to understand it and develop that learning beyond just a transaction. But during the transactional phase, where you really rely on because beyond the buying and selling and the price agreed, now they have to deliver. And during that process of delivering, you just have to kind of sort of really, really emphasize on transparency and quick learning of like bad news, and rely on the open communications. And really, it's not about just trying to see, I got you, but really, how do we solve this problem together? How do we can get engaged on all facets of the operations, whether it's like the purchasing or the fabrication or the quality or the inspection. So it really is a journey of collaboration. And I'd like to say that a road to partnership is built on trust, and the trust is get earned through different milestones and proof points along the way. So the more you can establish that, the more you can establish the transparency with your supplier, I think the more you can guarantee the outcome.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you, Tarek, for finishing off. I think we're about overrun, so thank you, the panel. And are we good? Excellent, thank you.